Well, we've all been there with social media. It can suck the life out of us. We can waste away hours doom scrolling. In this episode, we want to help you with that. We want to transform and rethink how we use our social media so that we can have a better relationship with it. We want to be able to use it as a tool that we enjoy, that's useful, as opposed to something that masters us. Today, we're going to share with you at the end some simple steps you can take in kind of the foundational truth that moves all of those along. Welcome to Reframed. I'm Dan Jarms. I'm one of the pastors at Faith Bible Church. My co-host is Brian Sayers.
Hello. I'm also a pastor at Faith Bible Church.
Yeah, and describe your role typically for Faith Bible Church, and it's going to be really relevant to what we're doing here.
Yeah, I'm the associate pastor of counseling here, so we don't often have people come in and say, I've got a social media problem, but we have lots of people come in and say, I'm dealing with guilt and shame and anxiety, and we find that sometimes at the root of that are poor social media habits.
Yeah. So it's a really relevant topic for every person who has got a device in social media.
Yeah.
Today we want to reframe how we use social media. We really want to turn it from something that uses us and causes us grief and anxiety and something that we can use effectively in a way that brings real hope, real change to your life. You know, if you're to think about what some of the problems are in social media, you could summarize it in these really vivid ways. Your posture's changed because of how you use the device. You could say people have a ton of distractions, like attention span has literally lowered, and the ability to have real person conversations has been diminished. Plus all of the anxiety and the anxiety-related issues. The anxiety blossoms into depression, suicidal thoughts, self-harm, like all kinds of studies for that. And there really are some solutions that you can return your social media use into something that is a tool for you for lots of good, as opposed to being your master of your feelings, master of your attention. So, like, what's the biggest problem?
Yeah, I mean, and in some ways, I think of this issue. I don't want to be a hypocrite because I find myself tempted by these same things.
Right.
One, it's just a huge distraction.
Yeah.
And my wife telling me, "Can you put your phone down? I'm here in the room."
Yeah.
Reminds me that I can be sucked into the distraction of it as easily as anybody. And it does. It hinders personal relationships. It takes time away from much more important things that I should be talking with my wife about or whoever else is in the rooms. Yeah. But then with social media, we are the product. Almost all the social media platforms come to us without cost.
Right.
And they're making money, and the way they're making money is selling us.
Yes.
To content creators, to advertisers, etc. When it comes to social media, there's algorithms underneath those programs that essentially are recording what is important to you and what is it that either entertains you or gets you emotional. It is all part of the marketing. And so if something is important to you, the algorithm of social media knows that, and it will continue feeding you that kind of content. If something is frightening to you, even, it will feed you that content. So,
whatever is interesting, they clock milliseconds of attention.
Right.
I was listening to Anxious Generation, and it was describing a social media think tank session where the keynote speaker was saying, we are competing for the attention of our users. How do we get more attention? How do we get more attention from adults, from teens, from kids? So they want your attention, and they clock it at the milliseconds. So, I mean, it's a significant thing. And whatever you're interested in, that algorithm's going to give you more of it. When does it start to go really bad?
I mean, there are different ways. One, of course, if you're just living your life for entertainment, you literally could sit there and be entertained all day. The problem with that, of course, is that lack of productivity, that perpetuation of distraction eventually is going to produce guilt. It's going to produce neglected responsibilities, which is going to create other complications in life. So that's certainly the case.
We're all familiar with two of the kinds of ways. In media, it's called binge watching. In social media, it's called doom scrolling. We all have names for it.
Yep.
So it's going to just suck up huge amounts of productivity of useful things. Okay.
But then the other aspect is that the content is designed to excite your emotions, not always just to entertain, but to excite your emotions. And so headlines are always worded in extreme ways.
Right.
Content is usually delivered in ways that are designed to stir your emotions. And so when you start looking at news content, it's going to tend toward this kind of extreme emotion. Of course, it's not difficult to see the product of that in our society, that we're very on the extremes and the right and the left, and people are angry about whatever position they take, and it's created all kinds of tension and even violence and certainly social unrest. And in part, that's because social media is fueling the emotions at the extremes in order to get more clicks, to get more screen time. So it's had a horrible effect on culture and society in general.
And the one other factor with a lot of social media is the commenting and reading comments. So social media was originally invented for that kind of thing, showing something, commenting, reading comments, and having that you could hear it talked about as a virtual relationship instead of an in-person relationship. It has seriously hampered people's ability to have in-person relationship.
Yeah.
Some they just don't want to have it. They would rather have the virtual relationship because there are fewer costs to it. And then they don't know how to have an in-person relationship. And your in-person conversations about any topic are governed by all the nonverbal cues of caring, normal people. So they tend to govern themselves a lot better in person. So it's really hurt that ability. And the statistics for kids have been overwhelming in the negative. And schools have taken such extreme steps to deal with it that lots of classrooms have phone lockers. You have to check them in before you get to class. You don't get it until after you get to class. They say that it's changing the school atmosphere. Like it got really caustic, really negative, really isolated. And just in every public school in Spokane, the school atmosphere is changing just by those practical things. Let's talk a little bit about some practical things that are helpful. Let's tackle the problem. So we know it's a problem. Everybody feels it's a problem. I feel addicted, enslaved, and I want to get out of that. What are some practical solutions, real-world life solutions that can help take control of your social media?
Yeah, I think you mentioned what they've done at the school, right? Is there, as kids walk in a classroom, I know one teacher, he called it a phone tree. He has a phone tree, and kids all have to just put their phone in a slot on his phone tree, and they can pick that up on their way out of the classroom so that they don't have access to it. It's there if emergency arose or whatever and they needed to check in. But again, that's an effort to just get it out of our hands. So you can mimic that at home, right? Just say, like, when my wife says, "I'm right here in the room, can you put your phone down?" I need to put the phone down and engage in that interpersonal relationship. So putting it down is one thing. Second, shutting off notifications. It's more common for me now in my friend circle, where if I text someone, my phone tells me so-and-so has their notifications off.
Yes.
And I think the wise people are turning those things off, so we're not getting notified. And so I have a few things that I like to leave my notifications on, some game scores, et cetera. But for the most part, I try to leave those off.
Yeah.
Also, when I put it down, to put it down outside the room. So like this happened just last night. Michelle asked me to put my phone down. I didn't just put it down next to me.
Right.
I went in the other room, put it on the charger. It can sit there. I don't need to see it. Probably for the rest of the night, actually, at that point. And so that's what we did.
We don't have time to go into the details, but people who are working on the statistics about this say there's a remarkable difference between having the phone in your pocket, having it on a table, and having it in another room. That your ability to focus in a room is directly impacted by the phone not being in the room. So, putting it away, the device, whatever your device is, and that could be true with your laptop open, but it's almost humorous that I have some nervous tics in my hips or my legs, and they feel just like a notification.
Yeah.
And I'll get this little buzz, like, who's trying to get a hold of me? And no, it's just your body with a nervous buzz in it, and it's a bizarre thing. So to have that away, and I do find, and maybe you do too, I do find when I put the device away in another room and I start going through an hour or two of something, like I really do feel better. I really do feel better without the pressure of it. Every app has settings that you can change. One of the things that everybody should do is make a deliberate attempt to change what they're watching. Like, go look for something else that's more productive or more helpful.
Right. If there's inappropriate or just distracting content or just nebulous stuff, just say I don't like this. There's always a button on the social media thing to say, hide this content.
Right.
And it will record that for you. And so I know what I'm going to get on my feed is generally going to be some sports stuff and some swing dance stuff and some news. That's pretty much what comes across my feed because I've repeatedly said, don't want this, don't want this, don't want this.
And here's what I do want.
Right.
Yeah. Those are good. And there's some lot, we're going to wrap up with maybe 3 really practical tips that include some of this. But we haven't gotten to the stuff that really gets into the heart of the issue.
That really is going to reframe it.
Yeah, if we're going to reframe it, we need to reframe it by the gospel and change it. So let's talk about what's going on in our hearts and then how to answer that. So what are the things that are showing up in us that make us want to see it? We want to see it, and then it controls us. Or we want to hear it or we want to experience and it controls us. What are some of those things that are there that the gospel is going to address?
Well, in terms of just the distraction of social media, to acknowledge that is utterly unproductive. There's very little redeeming value to it, and little is accomplished. So as Christians called to be productive, as Christians we're called to not live for ourselves, but to live for a greater, grander purpose who is Christ himself. So
Ephesians 5:16 is making the most use of the time because the days are evil.
Right.
Yeah.
Christ, and I'm thinking of 2 Corinthians 5 where it says he died for all, so that they who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him who died and rose again on their behalf. Like we have such a greater, grander purpose, the glory of God, the pleasure of God to live for, the purposes of God to live for, that literally just to be absorbed in the distraction itself is sad.
Yeah, so when you focus in on that, he died, we're talking about how does the heart of the gospel affect this issue? I think what social media offers is a sensory emotion toward danger. So you'll read something that looks dangerous, a sensory emotion that moves you to outrage, and it entertains you. It sometimes it makes you laugh. Like it's looking for these kinds of things. The downside is it often produces anxiety and depression, fear of man, like I hope nobody says anything terrible about me, or something that I feel like is going to hurt me, or man pleasing, like I hope I can be get a lot of likes on this. I remember doing a print video. I pulled a print off of a log because part of my fun with art, and I got like 1 million views. Like, you didn't think I wanted to go back and see if the thing jumped to 2 million or 3 million views. I had this huge number of views, and nobody bought a piece, which made me say, I don't think I need to do this anymore, because nobody's buying art. Yeah. They're just wanting to be entertained. And that was fine. Like, that was fine. And then, some people want to be an influencer. So, there's legitimate, not legitimate things. But one of the things I go back to, so swing all of those heart issues back to the gospel. One vignette in the Gospel of John stands out to me, which is this famous story of Jesus meeting the Samaritan woman. He comes in late in the afternoon. He's thirsty. His disciples go off to get lunch. And a woman who doesn't have a good reputation, she's coming at a time get a drink from the well, because she is an outcast kind of person. And Jesus asks her for water, and she's like, who are you? And Jesus makes this statement that's really worth thinking about. He said, if you knew who was asking you, you would ask him, and he would give you living water. And she says, like, I mean, come on. Yeah. Are you older than Jacob? Because it was at Jacob's well. And Jesus' answer to her was, you want living water? Well, why don't you go get your husband? Let's talk about it. And she says, well, I don't have a husband. And he says, that's right. You don't have a husband. You've had 4 husbands, and the one you're currently living with is not your husband. He got all the way into the deepest part of her heart. She was thirsting for something, and she was going from man to man to man to man to get it, obviously making bad choices. She had to be guilty of self-destructive relationships. And she is currently living in with her 5th guy, so she can't have a good reputation in town because of the desperate hole she had in her heart. Jesus described it as a thirst. I think that's a really good thing to ask yourself when you're using social media. What am I really thirsting for? And if you're thirsting for entertainment, I mean, God gives some good things, so entertainment's not inherently wrong, but when you're enslaved to entertainment, or you're enslaved to what people think of you, or you're enslaved to the feeling that you get, like we used to watch America's Funniest Home Videos, right? Bloopers. Right. Like, that's like, oh, what horrible thing happened to somebody, and everybody loved this. Oh, and like, I want to see another. Like, if you're enslaved to that, you're looking for something, and only Jesus can fill it. And I think what the gospel ends up doing, Jesus marches all the way to Jerusalem. He is rejected. He is hated. He is brutally treated. And he was a spectacle. All of Jerusalem came to see the horror story of Jesus being murdered. And all of that was done on our behalf for our forgiveness and our restoration to God. So if that's you and you're thinking, I'm trying to be filled, the only place that you can do that, the only place your heart was meant to be filled with, or as Jesus would describe, the thirst that you really have is really for God and his work through Jesus Christ. That's really your hope in doing it. We could be practical. We should maybe wrap up with some things that are practical. But we would say, if that's you and you're thirsting for real relationship, for real heart filling, you need to come join us on a Sunday. You need to join one of our community groups. We call them growth groups here. You need to get real relationships centered on Jesus Christ, and we would love to show you about that. There are some practical things. Brian, maybe what are some of the top practical things that you could say if we were to reduce it to a list of 3 things you could do?
Work on changing those algorithms. If you're going to use social media, perhaps just get rid of social media. Is not a bad choice, depending on the degree to which it's already controlling you, or you're already leaning into it as a source of satisfaction. It's certainly going to affect that productivity. So maybe getting rid of it, certainly affecting the algorithm so that only useful
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, take
is
control of
coming.
your social media. Rule 1, take
Yeah.
control of it. Don't let it control you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And certainly limit it at best as
Yeah.
well, like time-wise. Every app has a way to limit the amount of time
Yeah.
that you could spend on it. So
Yeah. So take control.
take control of it.
What about the interpersonal stuff? What do you recommend?
I recommend making real relational interaction a priority.
Yeah.
If the opportunity is in front of you to have relational interaction, make that the priority by putting the social media and the device away.
Yeah.
And learn how to do that. If you're a parent, one, keeping your kids off social media until they're more mature enough to handle it, I think would be important. And most
Recommendations are 16.
yeah. So I would certainly go with that. And it could be as simple as we're shutting the Wi-Fi off at 7 o'clock and we're going to play board games or
Yeah.
interact with one another to force the kind of interpersonal interaction that is actually going to help a person grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just be entertained.
Yeah. So take control of your device. Prioritize interpersonal
Yeah.
time and relationship, and do what it takes to be undistracted about that. 3 is you have to take your heart to Jesus. You have to. You're never. All of the other things will be Band-Aid sort of situations. Because if you're looking for all those other things that social media gives you, you can find them in real person relationships. They've been doing that for thousands of years too. This woman at the well was trying to find what she needed in an interpersonal relationship, and it wasn't enough. She needed the Lord of the universe to fill her soul. So we would say, take your heart to Jesus. To me, that looks like, oh, I'm really worked up. I'm really, like, I just wasted a half hour. Like, Lord, what am I looking for? Like, it's really just a quick heart cry, prayer, confession, help me. Jesus, I really want you to be more important. And then, of course, fill it with truth that is soul satisfying. So if you don't know how to do that, we would love to help you. Show up at Faith Bible Church,
Yeah.
440 West Cora, and we have leaders who are well-trained, people who are loving and caring, a community that you could really build interpersonal relationship. We would love to have you join us.
Yeah. We're probably not going to give you advice about your phone on a Sunday morning or even in a small group, but we are going to point you to how can you find your greatest joy and satisfaction and purpose in life in knowing, loving, following, serving Jesus Christ. And ultimately, that's the solution.
Yeah. And what's the win at the end of the day? The win at the end of the day is your heart is full, your relationships are richer, you're in control of what you use social media for. It's not in control of you. Thanks for watching this episode of Reframed. If it helped you shift your perspective on this issue, check out the links in the description for more resources. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment to let us know what topics you'd like us to reframe next. If you're here in Spokane, we would love to see you at Faith Bible Church. Services are at 8:30 and 10:30 a.m. every Sunday. You can find all the details at fbchurch.org. And if you're watching from somewhere else, we hope you'll get connected with a gospel-centered church in your area. There's a link below to help you find one. We'll see you next time on Reframed.